So how expensive or inexpensive is it to live out on the road compared to living in a house or an apartment? Today, I'm gonna do a full breakdown on what it costs to actually live inside this bus compared to living in a house or an apartment. All right, I gotta get down here. This is always a pain in the ass. So for those who are a little bit newer to the channel, I chose to live this type of unconventional lifestyle about 2 years ago. So I bought a bus. I spent about a year rehabbing it and turning it into a little tiny home, and I've been traveling for about 4 months now. But I never bought a bus because I had to or because I thought rent prices were too high. And to be honest, I could be easily living with my parents, not having to worry about a rent or a mortgage, but I've been wanting to do this lifestyle for a couple years now, and I'm simply doing it because I want to. With that being said, there are a lot of pros of living inside a bus, like meeting new people, going to different cities, going to different landscapes, and just overall having a different type of perspective on life in other people's shoes. And that's something that I'll forever be grateful for. But on the flip side, and just like anything with life, there's always cons, and there's definitely cons of living inside a bus. I mean, you got dumping, unexpected maintenance issues, finding places to sleep, having to meal prep, not having a washer and dryer, constantly cleaning, and having to worry about power. And look, those are all cons that we deal with on a daily basis, but they're not the end of the world. The biggest con is the cost of living on the road. Now, of course, this is something that we anticipated when it comes to this lifestyle, but number one, building a bus is not cheap, and number two, on a monthly basis, living in a bus is also not cheap. You know, it's really easy to think that, and since you're not paying rent to live in an apartment or a mortgage to live in a house, that living in a bus is actually cheap. But a lot of people don't mention the amount of hidden costs it actually takes to live in a bus. And I'm gonna break this down in just a second, but just so you can get some type of idea of what these hidden expenses can include, it's propane, water fill-ups, laundromats, gym memberships to take showers, national parks plus state park passes, internet plus Wi-Fi, and of course, gas. So as you can see, there's a lot of different hidden expenses that we have to pay for on a day-to-day basis, and it's not cheap. Also, it's really hard to manage all these expenses sometimes. So it's important to stay organized and stay on top of all these expenses so we know exactly how much to allocate towards each expense instead of just guessing. So what we did is made a budget spreadsheet to stay on top of all of these expenses, because although living on the road is physically taxing on the body, it's also mentally taxing if you don't have everything organized. And the last thing you want to be worried about when it comes to living on the road, having these crazy different experiences, is worrying about where your expenses are going to be allocated towards. And for me personally, it's something that I need. Not want, but I need, because I'm a control freak and I need everything to be organized. All right, so as you can see, this is our budget spreadsheet, and as you can tell, it's pretty well organized with the right formulas and just everything's in place. And the reason that is because, again, I am a control freak, so I need everything to be organized, but it's just easy to see it this way. But as you can tell, we have all of the expenses by category here to the left-hand side, and we have every single purchase throughout the month of July. Now, if you're living on the road, I definitely suggest having some type of budget tracker or a finance tracker where you can track all of your expenses and allocate your budget towards that. This might be a little bit more extreme for most, but again, this is what works for me. So I think the best way to go about this, to show you exactly what our expenses are, I'm going to show you from least expensive to most expensive on a monthly basis. And for this video, I'm going to show you the month of July, because the month of July was just a crazy hectic month for us. We were traveling like crazy, so this was the most expensive month by far. I would have to check, but I think we traveled 6 different states around this time in the month of July in a span of 30 days. That's just completely absurd. So I picked this month because we were just on the road and traveling a lot. But now that we are in California, we've been here for about 1 to 2 months, and we're just moving very, very slow, not only because California is huge, but we also just love it here. And I think it'd be unfair to show you what our expenses look like in a slow month of traveling compared to our expenses with a hectic and crazy traveling every single weekend type of thing. So starting out with our least expensive expense on this spreadsheet and on a monthly basis, and that is our water fill up plus dump station fees. And surprisingly, it's only $10. This shouldn't really come to a shock for many people already living on the road. It was a shock for us because we thought we would have to pay a lot more in dumping fees, but a lot of times they're just free. So next on the block is laundry, and we only pay about $20 a month for that. So obviously we don't have a washer and dryer, so the only way to do our laundry is to go into other laundromats. Which the money aspect really isn't that big of a deal, but it's just the fact that we have to go to a different laundromat every single time. That's really the biggest nuisance. And we do laundry every single week, every single Sunday. So although it's not a big expense, it just adds up over time. Okay, so next on the list is our Planet Fitness Black Card membership, and that is $26.31, and I would pay that tenfold if I could. With this membership, you can bring a guest at any time, so it includes both of my girlfriend and I, and on top of that, it also has showers. So this is essentially where we shower every night. And right behind me, we do have a shower. We built a shower. Overall, it just avoids a bunch of water trips because, you know, having to take a shower every single day, it costs a lot of water, which costs a lot of money. On top of that, we also don't have hot water, so we're taking a lot of cold showers. Planet Fitness is just key for us because we can take however long a shower we want. It's hot, and on top of that too, we can also work out. Okay, so now going on to campsites and excursions, and this one might surprise a lot of you guys, but we only spend $81.73 a month on campsites and excursions. So campsites obviously includes us staying at a campsite overnight, but excursions can include anything like going out to eat, national parks, milking cows, Niagara Falls, going to monuments, and going to rodeos, etc., etc., etc. And something that we decided right off the rip when it comes to traveling is that we weren't really going to go to campsites and sleep overnight all the time because it's honestly just a little bit boring. Even though we do stay at Walmart parking lots and a couple side streets, on top of that, we like staying at more off-road places and places that are a little bit more adventurous, so this doesn't really come to a shock to us, but of course I understand if people stay at campsites all the time. Going on to the next block, which is Wi-Fi, and that is $150 a month. So for those who are newer to the channel and haven't seen my previous videos, I do work a remote job with my girlfriend. She also works remote. It is a 9 to 5, so we need to have good Wi-Fi at all times. And unfortunately, the $150, it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but it's a non-negotiable. With that $150, it is a Verizon unlimited plan. So anywhere there is coverage around the country, we can have Wi-Fi. That said, there is some spotty areas off-road, but a lot of times when you're in a city like we are right now, it's pretty good Wi-Fi. We can stream anything we want. We can have Zoom calls. We can call people. I mean, it's pretty good. Okay, so now we are getting to the more expensive blocks, and just like any other house or any other apartment, there is utilities and amenities, and we spend around $250 a month. And living in a bus is just like living in a house or an apartment, and since we are in a little bit more of a smaller area, it does tend to get dirtier quicker, but you have your normal utilities and amenities. I mean, it can include scrub daddies, it can include paper towels, Fabuloso, we got toothpaste, Clorox wipes. I mean, pretty much all of the essentials that you would have in your house is in my house. And last but certainly not least is the gas expense. And we spend around $800 every single month on gas. So I don't think this should really come to a big surprise to a lot of people, but when you're traveling like the way that we do, and you have a big bus like this with a bunch of things in it, it's not really uncommon to spend $800 a month in gas, especially when you're traveling from state to state and you're really traveling 4 hours at a time every single drive. So there is one more block that I kept for last, and I kept it last for a reason, but that is repairs. And we spend to be decided. Maintenance and repairs is to be decided because you just really never know how much you're going to actually spend on a month for maintenance and repairs, and it's actually the only expense that you just can't predict for. For example, there was one month where we spent over $2,000 on a gas tank replacement, or there was this one month where we spent over $600 on a glass door replacement, or some of the best months is where we spend $0 on maintenance and repairs. So you really just never know. So there are some expenses that we didn't account for, like groceries. My girlfriend and I, we do pay for our own groceries because we have our own meal plan. We have our own meals that we want to eat. So we do pay for that separately, and that's also a big expense that wasn't included. But excluding that, the total expenses that we have for the month of July includes everything inside this bus is over $1,300. And some of you guys might be thinking like, damn, Dom, like $1,300 for expenses to live on the road is kind of expensive. And it is expensive, but for me, it's worth it. So, I mean, it's really easy to say that $1,300 in expenses or $800 in gas prices alone is ridiculous or overpriced, but It's really about your mindset and how risk averse you are. To me personally, if you take out the money aspect of this journey to live inside a bus, I would 100% do it. And I think anyone watching would also do it too. So if money wasn't an object, the question would be, would you do this? And for me personally, being that this is always something that I've always wanted to do, it was a no-brainer. Now put the money aspect back into the equation, but this time you have a full-time job that can not only pay for all of the expenses to live inside a bus, but also make a good living. Yeah, to me that's still a no-brainer. So all in all, the expenses will always be the expenses, no matter where you are in life. And a perfect example of that is I have multiple friends that are paying over $2,000 just to live in an apartment for rent. And that's not including any other expenses. Now, it does come down to mindset. If you're a risk-averse person, then this type of lifestyle might not be the best fit for you because it is risky and it does cost a lot of money. For me, personally, the opportunity cost of living on the road, experiencing different things, seeing different cities and states, and living the type of lifestyle that I want to live completely outweighs the monetary value of living on the road. At the end of the day, living on the road is about choosing freedom over convenience. And yes, it does come with its challenges and its costs and its cons of living on the road, but to me, it's worth it. And now that you guys know exactly how much it costs for me personally to live on the road every single month, I'm curious to see if you guys would do it. Let me know in the comments. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.